Live. We've been away for a little while. I'm busy getting things in order, but I'm absolutely thrilled to be back. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Nour Fawaz, president and founder of Build a Dream and the Facebook Live host. Facebook Live is an opportunity for us to talk to both women and men in the workforce about what it's going to take to diversify and create more inclusive working environments, but also share the career journey of women in the field. And I'm absolutely honored to be introducing our guest today. It's Captain Stacey Hemstock from Kitchener Fire. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I apologize to everyone, and I apologize to you, Captain Hemstock, because we had so many technical difficulties, and that's what delayed us getting on. But this is the new world we live in, and we're learning as we go. So thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much for having me today.
I'm so excited to have you, and you're in uniform, so that's really exciting. So I have to tell you, I have a 2-year-old son, and he loves fire trucks. Absolutely adores fire trucks. Could watch them on TV, like we put it on YouTube, and he just watched the sirens, and he hears it in the distance. That was his birthday theme, so it's really exciting that I'm talking to you today.
We'll have to do another one near the truck someday for him.
I would. Well, next time, hopefully next time we do our event, we usually have the fire trucks come out to our Build a Dream event. So we'd love to see you in gear and uniform when I'm in town next time. So, and that's when great. Things go back. But why don't you first start off by telling us about your career in fire and what interested you in going down this path?
Okay, so I've actually been in the fire service now for 21 years. I've been a captain for the past 11. In our department, so Kitchener, I am the only female captain that we have right now. We do have only about 4% females on the job in career firefighting with us. So this is really important for us because we don't have that many women that honestly maybe don't even understand really what the job entails. They may not be educated about it. So this is really great for us to be able to reach out to young women that may have an interest in it, but may not know or may not have seen a female in the fire service. So for myself, when I joined actually 20 years ago with Kitchener, and then I was on a volunteer department prior to that, I actually went through for a paramedic first, and then I went into the fire service. There are pre-service programs now at college level in Ontario for firefighters, but that wasn't an option when I went through. They didn't have those programs. So my route was I went through for a paramedic first and then went into the fire service.
And that's amazing. So what inspired you to go into fire? I know you talked about awareness, and it's important for Kitchener Fire to raise awareness for young women to consider this pathway. But why did you end up considering fire as a career pathway?
I actually didn't think of that first. I originally actually wanted to be a marine biologist, which is total opposite to what I am. But due to some family dynamics, I actually wasn't able to go through for marine biology. I needed to stay close to home locally to help out with family because I grew up on a dairy farm. And so for me, that was kind of how else can I enjoy something that I want to do? I love biology. So I actually went through as a paramedic first, really enjoyed helping people, really enjoyed that aspect of that career. But I then kind of started working with a couple of other paramedics that were volunteer firefighters. And I got into the volunteer fire department locally from where I grew up. And then within a year, I decided, you know what, I'd like to try this full time. So then I went through for full time and got hired in Kitchener.
That's amazing. And so what steps did you have to take to be a volunteer firefighter?
They put us through some physical fitness testing. So we had to pass that physical fitness testing. Once you pass that, they would put you on almost like a probationary period where you would have to respond to certain calls with certain mentors, basically senior firefighters, just to kind of get the training. We had to do training weekly, just to build up that. But it's very different then than what it is now for the training. The reason I say that is because the pre-service program allows younger people to go to the college program and learn about firefighting. Some of the programs are 1.5 years long. So it gives them a lot of training, a lot of hands-on experience before they apply to fire, where for myself, getting into the volunteer department, I didn't have a lot of experience other than the medical with being a paramedic and then growing up on a farm. So for some of the hands-on tools, but it was more you learn as you went, and you trained with some of the senior guys that would help you and provide that training to you.
So I have this question because I know this question comes up a lot, especially in emergency response career journeys. It is the physical strength.
It
How do
is.
you how do you respond to some of the intimidation or lack of confidence with women that may be interested in that pathway but don't know or feel that they have the strength to pursue fire? What advice do you have for them?
It is a very tough, physical, demanding job. There's a lot of things that I find, and I mean, this is obviously being in the fire service for 21 years, that a lot of it is technique for females. It is learning about technique. We don't always have the brute strength. I mean, it's very obvious that a lot of men have more upper body strength than women. That's human nature. Like that's the way we are built. You have to be active. You have to work out. But there are a lot of things that we can do that actually are technique based. And as long as you learn those techniques, it makes it easier and more attainable. We can absolutely do it. I mean, I've been doing it for 21 years, but I also find smarter ways to do some of the stuff instead of brute strength. It just saves my body and my physical ability. So it does. So that's one of the key things that I run a mentorship program locally for young women that want to become firefighters. And by doing that, we do teach them some technique. And when they're in the college pre-service fire program, that we teach them, you may not be able to do it exactly the way some of the guys do that maybe 6'3", 6'4", and very, very strong. I'm 5'6", so I sometimes can't reach and I have to accommodate and do different things for myself. But I learn techniques around it so that I can still accomplish the same goal. But you still have to work at it. You have to be, all of the firefighters have to be physically active and do workouts and keep their fitness up. And that's just so you want to do a great job and be able to do your job with ease instead of struggle through it.
I do definitely appreciate the fact that you talk about the value of and the importance of physical training, and that is definitely one of the qualifications, but how you've embedded different techniques to be able to do your job on a day-to-day basis and to also take away some of that strain on your body. And we often talk about when we're working towards diversifying the workforce, when we're speaking to female applicants or females in the industry, it's not about changing the qualifications or making it easier for women to get in. It's just respecting the fact that women want to be in the industry and creating equal opportunities for them to reach that goal. And it reminds me of a story that the Canadian Armed Forces, an initiative that they launched when they realized that more than half of the female recruits that were spending 6 months in training were not passing the upper body physical testing. And that's because women biologically are not built the same way as men, and we don't have the same upper body strength. So instead of saying, okay, well, they can't build that strength, what they did was they introduced a women in combat training, where women, part of their 6-month training, got personal training to build that upper body strength. And they saw a significant increase in the amount of females that passed the testing simply by introducing that a new approach and just providing additional training to build the requirements that they need to do the job, which is essentially what I'm hearing you've done in your 20 years in being in fire.
Absolutely. So, for example, we have a new recruit on my crew. We were working the other day. We were out at our training center doing some training with him for being a newer firefighter on the job. And one of the techniques that I learned very early on in my career was I actually use an axe if I have to cut a hole in a roof, for example, with an axe. If the saw, for whatever reason, doesn't work or it fails, one of the key things for me is I actually was taught to flip the axe around instead of using the sharp part of an axe, use the blunt or the flat head of the axe.
Yeah.
And it does the same job. And I mean, if you're cutting a hole in a roof, the roof would need to be replaced anyway. But it's a lot less work and but you accomplish the same task, but you're still able to get down off the roof and still do other tasks as well. You're not tired. So my new recruit's like, well, that's kind of odd. And he goes, but it really works. And I said, it does. Sometimes it's thinking outside the box, and it's sometimes just learning different techniques to make it so that you accomplish the same goal, but you do it in a way that without that upper body strength. For me anyway, a lot of women are very, very strong upper body strength. But for me, I tend to look at other options, and being in the service for 21 years, that sometimes you take the easy route to accomplish the same goal.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with that. And this is a perfect example of how when you promote diversity and inclusion, it enriches the approach that your staff and employees take to get the same job done. There's creativity, there's a different thought process, there's a different type of intelligence or view on the particular task that in some cases could ultimately save a company or an organization significant amount of money by simply changing one or two techniques, as you mentioned. I have to admit, like I do invest a lot in my physical training, and I probably would never aspire to be a firefighter. I admire your strength. But I know what it's like and the motivation I have to even just do a full pull-up on my own without a band. So it
It's tough.
but it's
Very
tough, right? So, but it's not that it can't happen. It's every day you get stronger.
Absolutely.
And even mindfully, once you feel that confidence, you're more likely to try something that you otherwise may not have tried.
Absolutely.
So 4% women on the job site. Tell me, what is it like working, and maybe go back to 20 years ago. What was it like being one of the very few women in fire? And if you can, I know you're representing Kitchener Fire, but what was the response you received going into fire?
So I was very lucky. The crew that I started out with when I got hired, a lot of senior guys on the job. And I say guys because my shift was primarily all men when I first started. There were a couple of other women on the job already in Kitchener that were on different shifts than myself. But they treated me very, very well when I first got on. They were very receptive to help me. They taught me a lot of good things. Some of them taught me some of the techniques because some of them were a little bit shorter that I worked with than some of the taller, bigger guys. So I was very fortunate. They treated me like one of them. I never got treated differently. They would put me through my paces like they would any other new recruit coming on. They spent a lot of time with me. The first, I believe, 8 guys at my station when I first started at headquarters 20 years ago in Kitchener I was very fortunate. They spent a lot of time with me, and as much as I put in, they would put in that effort as well. So I would ask a lot of questions, and I would really focus on things that I really wasn't strong at or that I really didn't know or hadn't seen. So when I grew up on my grandparents' farm, and my grandfather didn't really believe that women should be doing some of the hands-on stuff like running the chainsaws and doing some of that. So that would be my time at headquarters. Is I said to the guys, okay, these are some things that I really need to work on. Can we try? So they would bring in wood from home. They would allow me to do the training 4 or 5 times, where some of them would just say, okay, well, no, we're good with running a saw. You spend the extra time doing it. So I was very, very fortunate when I started. I had some really great firefighters to work with, some captains that really mentored me. I was very lucky, and I have been throughout my career. I have put a lot of work in, but I've also gotten a lot back from a lot of the people that I work with. I'm very fortunate.
I can really appreciate the fact that you talked about not only the role that some of your male colleagues played in really encouraging you and supporting you on your training journey, but also the effort you put in to learning the tools of the trade, if we call that, to do your job well, and recognizing that you may have come in with a slight disadvantage because you didn't have the background in being able to use the tools, which many women traditionally are not used to using those tools. Hopefully that's going to change as we do more of these initiatives and your mentorship program. So I think that that's really important. And one of the things that we found is, and we often talk about, for young women, not knowing what a career pathway is like, or just assuming that they may not be able to do a particular task, often prevents them from even considering it as an option. So as you're out there talking and looking at increasing the number of women that consider fire, what are some pieces of advice to help them feel a little bit more confident in seeing themselves in that particular role?
So some of the things that I have really been recommending in the last few years is all over Ontario, we have different fire departments that actually run female firefighter camps. There are various different names to the camps. They're usually a week long, somewhere in the summer, somewhere in the fall. And one of the key things is that it's all females. So it's a group of 24 to 30 young women. and it's taught by firefighters. A lot of times it's female firefighters from that region that are teaching. Of course, there are some male instructors as well, because it wouldn't be realistic for us to have just an all female instructor group, because we work with male and female. So it's important for them to see that role from both sides. But yeah, they're willing to do, a lot of these camps are very inexpensive. Some are free, to try something like that, where you have the ability to, I don't want to say be vulnerable, but you almost are, because you're able to try these things without judgment. You're able to try these things while in an empowering environment. So that allows you to see if, you know what, maybe there are some things that they need to work on, but we can help them with that in these programs. But they also have that ability to be in a comforting environment, that it's other young women that are in the same position as them, and they're there to learn, and they're there to see if it's something that they could or want to do.
And what is the interest that you see in Kitchener in particular once you launch these camps? Because I know that, for example, in Windsor, Donna DeSantis, who is a volunteer firefighter, I don't know if you've ever met her. No,
no, but I've heard the name and I've heard the program. Yeah,
Women on Fire is what it's called. Yes. And where they walk through a full day, and they've also partnered with police and border services. So it's pretty cool. It's like all these women in emergency response coming together to help train the future generation or encourage the future generation. And I know for myself, I know I keep going back to my personal training journey, and I'm not even going into that career path, but even thinking of when I'm in the gym, I will likely be more inclined to go into the women's section to lift my weights and do my workouts than where it's both men and women. And that's because I feel a little bit more confident and a little bit more comfortable in the all women section. So I feel that there is a lot of opportunity for women to feel a little bit more confident and interested in pursuing that path of fire, if provided the option to see what it would be like to pursue the training and get that support in an intimidating free environment.
Absolutely. And that's one of the key things that we try and do. All of the camps that are run in Ontario are based on empowering and educating young women and allowing them to do these things, to be able to pick up the tools, to put the gear on in a very comfortable environment, that we are there to support them. We're there to help them. And we want to see them succeed. So if they have an interest in it, we want to be able to give them that little push to say, okay, you've got this week-long camp, or sometimes a one day, that they get to try it out before they actually get to go to college. We also really stress, before they do the pre-service programs, that a lot of the young men have the same questions they do and have the same fear that they do about stepping up and trying new things. A lot of them don't know either, but for some reason, women, we feel like we are, I think probably because it's a male dominating workforce still. But we do have that fear about stepping up and maybe doing something wrong, when, you know what, we're there to learn. And that's what I always stress to all of them in our camp, in our program, our mentorship program. We're here to learn. We're here to support you. And if we have actually had a couple of people that have had to leave our program that aren't very supportive and aren't team players, and we really stress that is the most important, that it's a safe environment to learn. And we are there to work together as a team and to educate and to empower one another. Especially when we don't have the numbers that we'd like to see. We're hoping to get more women in the fire service. It would be really great to see over the next few years, to increase our numbers and our percentages in Ontario.
And that's amazing. And I really do appreciate that Fire has taken on this initiative, because you are correct. The numbers are quite low. But I think there is definitely an opportunity in seeing that number increase with more initiatives like the ones that you're running, and hearing you speak and seeing your journey unfold and you moving into leadership positions, that would probably provide more encouragement to other women to consider this as a pathway. Tell me, why do you love being a firefighter? Like, self-fire, the fire career path to me.
So for myself, I don't like doing the same thing day after day. I really like variety in my job. So for me, I do obviously have paperwork that I have to do after calls. I'm responsible as a captain for training my crew. So you can make that as exciting as you want or as boring as you want. I prefer to try and make it exciting, because I have to do the training too. One of the biggest things with the fire department, though, I find, is you're able to help in the community. You're able to give back. I volunteer in the community because it's important to me as well that we are out in the community. It's the citizens that pay my wages. And I think it's very important for me to then help their children and to do things to help them and give back. So for me, firefighting is not just about going to a fire. We do several different calls. Every day is something different. We never know what we're going to get or go to each and every shift. And for me, it's really about the variety. It's about keeping physically active. It's the team environment. I have an amazing crew of firefighters that I work with. My station, there is 4 of us and myself on one truck, and we have a lot of fun, but we do a lot of training. We've got some senior firefighters as well as some brand new ones. To me, it's about just being able to be in that work family environment. It's a really big team. I love team sports as well. So for myself, it's really about that balance of everything that you can combine. You're not just a firefighter going in and doing a job the same every day. You have to think every fire is going to be different. You have to train so that you're prepared for those fires. I think really for someone that wants to do something different, wants to help and give back to the community, wants to do all of those extra things. It's not just about firefighting. Like we do rope rescue training, we do water rescue, we go to car accidents, we go to carbon monoxide calls. We also have several different jobs within the fire service that's not just firefighting. So there's a lot of different avenues that we have the ability to go into as well in the fire service if you want to change from just being a firefighter. So there's just so much variety with our job that's what I love the most about it.
It reminds me of some of the feedback we often get from young women about what they look for in a career. And fire is exactly that, the variety, the opportunity to help people, the teamwork, and not every day being the same. But one of the things that's often comes back over and over again is that young women want to help people. And when I think of fire, I think of saving lives. Walk me through all the ways that as a firefighter, you help people, communities, and you enrich the lives of everyone living in that community.
So for us, like I said, we do different variety of different calls that we go on. We also do public assist. So if someone in our community calls and they need help with something, and it may just be, we go to various calls. We've gone to get pets down off a roof. We've gone to get a variety of different things for people, and it's to them, that's their emergency. We may look at it and think it's minor, but to them, it could be a huge emergency. We've had to get children that are stuck in a playground piece of equipment, remove them from that. There is a very wide variety of things that we have to do in the community. We also do a lot of public education. So we go out to the schools, obviously not now during the pandemic, but we normally throughout the year, we do different school events. So we'll walk through our fire safety house, which actually does fake smoke and has the children, usually kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, where they have to actually exit out safely out of their house. We do home fire escape plans for them at school. Sometimes we have to do fire drills. We show up to the schools for fire drills. We do a lot of public relations events as well. So if there's community gatherings, so it could be different religions that have different events going on. We try and make sure that we show up to different events whenever we can with a truck and a crew, just to provide that support to them, to know that the community is behind them, that we are a community and that we want to be there to help you, and that we explain what firefighting is. Some nationalities don't understand what firefighting truly is in their community, especially if they're new to Canada. So we spend a lot of time hoping kind of that they can understand what we do better. And if they call 911, what does that mean? What does it look like when we show up? We try and do quite a bit of community involvement. We also do volunteer programs that raise money on our days off to help different community groups, children's groups, different charities within the region. It's a very wide variety. Sometimes we will just go and help some of the seniors if they need a smoke alarm changed, if they need a battery changed in their smoke alarm, or some of the kind of outside of our normal just responding to fires and calls. So we try and do as much as we can. We'll help if a senior calls in and has snow removal issues in the wintertime. We can go and shovel out their fire hydrant off their front lawn. We can help shovel the sidewalks. We have trucks that sometimes will stop and shovel a driveway if they see a senior out shoveling. So there's just a very wide variety of stuff that we can do in the community to help give back.
What's been your most memorable moment as a firefighter?
I think for myself, probably not even call wise. I volunteer a lot with the Grand River Hospital in Kitchener. We have a program that we call our Everyday Heroes program. It's totally voluntary, and we go in and spend time with Knights of Columbus locally and with the pediatric mental health patients. So we go in and we'll talk about the career. I go in and do different crafts and different stuff with them. To me, that is the most rewarding to spend a little bit of time with some of our vulnerable in our community, is the way I look at it, that they sometimes just need someone to listen and someone to do something with them. And that's kind of one of the most important things for me to give back.
You are so inspiring.
Thank you.
And Sandra Davis even mentioned what a great role model. Like, what a great way to introduce young women to a career in fire, and what better representation than you to talk about not only the technical aspect, but the community aspect, and how it's all encompassing. So thank you for sharing that. We do have a question coming in from Brandy. Thanks for tuning in, Randy. Even though women continue to be the extreme minority, have you felt a shift in acceptance and equality of your male colleagues?
I think for myself, because I was so well accepted when I got hired, I have had that acceptance throughout my career. So I've been very fortunate. I do think for younger women, yes, coming into the service, absolutely. I think based on the fact that dynamics change, we are trying to get more females into the fire service. But I think personally, I think that I've had that same, it's how you build that respect, and you give respect when you get hired, and you ask questions and you really want to learn your job, you earn that respect very quickly.
What advice, and not to put you in the spot, but let's talk about women just in male dominated industries. And the reality of it is the underrepresentation of women in these industries. There's a number of different barriers preventing them from awareness, as you mentioned, also access to opportunities, but also the experience they feel within the environment. And oftentimes, I'll even be asked by new recruits, I'm not saying specifically in fire, but across different industries, when they feel like they are being bullied or discriminated against on the job site, or that their opportunity to advance is being hindered. What advice do you have for those women that have that experience, that may not have the same feedback or support from their colleagues that you've received, luckily, and I'm so glad that you did. But what advice do you have for women that don't feel that sense of belonging? Because that is, in certain cases, the reality.
Absolutely. So I think one of the biggest things right now, it's been 10 years now. We have a group of amazing women from Ottawa Fire that put together a group called Fire Service Women Ontario. And that is for and it could be male or females join the group. We get together once a year for a symposium and a training evolution. It's usually a 3-day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That group is available online. They offer mentorship programs as well for other females that can mentor young women coming into the fire service. It doesn't have to be in the same department. It can be just anybody voluntarily saying that they'd like to be a mentor and help other young women. That is one of the biggest things right now that's very beneficial to women coming into the fire service. So the department they go on to may not have a lot of women, but they have other connections that they can use, questions, and they can have different feedback and information from some of the groups that are out there. And Fire Service Women Ontario is one of the best. They have an amazing group. So they do, and they really support women going into the fire service. And they also help support men who really support women going into the fire service. So it's not just about women. They make it very open to everybody. That wasn't available when I first started. But it is now for young women. So it's really helpful and other programs that we have, reaching out to other women in other departments can sometimes help. It's also very valuable for departments to use a mentorship program. So to have, even if it could be a male colleague, that could be very much a really great mentor and role model for a young female coming in. It's about learning who those role models are. And when they step up and want to help role model and mentor, they can be very powerful and very accepting as well. So I think it's really about having all those opportunities and channels out there that you can reach out to if you need to. Makes a big difference in coming into the fire service today as opposed to 20 years ago.
I would love to get all these links from you because we could share it as once we share your episode.
Okay.
But one thing that I want you to elaborate on as well, because you talked about running your own mentorship program in Kitchener. Can you walk me through how that was started and what are some of the advantages and success stories you've seen since launching this mentorship program, and why it's a reoccurring theme? I have to tell you, anyone I talk to, men or women, they always 100% of the time talk about the value and importance of mentorship. Yet I don't see those embedded into organizations as much as I'd like to.
Yeah, for sure. So for us, it's a total voluntary program. So it was probably 8 years ago now that I started. It was a one-day program that we would do in June when the high school age young females were done school. We would do a one-day program that we'd set up, and we would do different evolutions so they could try on the gear, they could try using our air packs, just to give them a feel for the physical abilities of the job, but also to actually meet firefighters from our department, and they could actually ask questions and they could be in that safe environment. We'd educate and help empower them if they wanted to be firefighters. So we started out like that because I did see the lack of females coming through the fire service, but I also wanted to give back to my community. So for me, it has always been a volunteer program. For the past 8 years, I've had such amazing support from my leadership team at work. So my chief and my deputies very much support this program. I also have a lot of male colleagues as well as female colleagues that help out every single year for the program. I don't even have to ask. They always say, Stace, when's the program? Count me in. So I'm very, very fortunate that we have such a great group that helps to give back, because I couldn't do it on my own. Absolutely. It's a team environment. It's a team program. So what we do is I actually volunteer through the Waterloo Region Better Business Partnership. So I actually volunteer in the high schools as well. So that's kind of where I reach out and give the information to the guidance counselors and teachers, any young females that they want to send to the program. We have tried the daily or the one-day program. We've also switched it to the past couple of years. We did once a month we'd meet for the full year. We found that was a little more challenging only because the young women have part-time jobs, they play sports. So this year was our first year to start the week camp, the same as all the other Ontario departments are doing. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, it had to be canceled for this spring. However, we are going to be up and running next year, and we're going to try and maybe do something in the fall. So the key things for us, the reason why I really wanted to give back is I wanted to be able to give young women the ability to come out and to try the stuff, try the equipment. I wanted them to feel comfortable that, you know what, nobody, it doesn't matter what size they are, those air packs don't feel comfortable on your back for if you have them for 2 hours long at a fire. They're not meant to feel 100% comfortable just with all that equipment on. But just to give them the ability to try out a little bit of the hands-on and see physically that they have to put the effort in, that they have to work out, that they have to sometimes build certain strength. Being a female, like we talked with the upper body strength, it would just give them that little bit of confidence to be able to go into a pre-service program knowing what they're going to be expected to do prior to just going in blind. So for them to go in there and not know anything about firefighting and never having the gear on, a lot of them are very intimidated to do so. So by us allowing them this for the program, that they get that confidence of, you know what, I know what the gear feels like. I can do this. I can carry all this equipment. I can build my strength and be able to do this job. So it just gives that little bit of a push and that little bit of encouragement. It may not be a lot. I mean, some years the camp will be 3 days, some will be 5. It's just based on what we can accomplish each year. But from that, so far, from the 8 years that I've been mentoring and doing the program with the big help of my colleagues, we have about 17 women that have been hired in Ontario fire departments.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Yeah. That's great.
So it's been very, very well received.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
One of the questions that I wanted to ask further to this, you said you were a paramedic for a number of years before you became a firefighter. When you look at the amount of weights that you have to lift as a paramedic in comparison to fire, because you're lifting bodies and putting them onto stretchers and moving. How much different? I know it's different in the sense of what you're doing, but in terms of the amount of weight you're lifting, is there some similarities?
Basic training to be able to do that, the physical aspect of it, yes. I mean, different programs can work for both. It is very different. Paramedics have very different that they quite often find people in very awkward positions. They find them having to carry downstairs, using different equipment than what we would use in the fire service to get somebody out of a building. Quite often when we are in a fire situation, we are dragging a lot, not actually carrying. And the reason being is that we are in usually a smoke-filled environment. There's hot gases, heat. So we are down on the floor more so, whereas the paramedics would be able to lift and in a normal environment, but they may have a heavy patient. They may have an awkward time getting a patient out of a house. So it's quite a bit different. But the lifting techniques, I mean, are the same no matter what type of job you do. You always want to protect your back. You always want to lift with your legs. So the physical fitness program and lifting weights can be used for many different careers, not just fire, not just specifically for ambulance, not just specifically for a hands-on job, a physical job. Those types of programs and weightlifting and doing your cardiovascular fitness all can be helpful and beneficial to any of the careers.
And I appreciate you kind of giving that distinction. And the reason why I'm asking is because I'm kind of further exploring the different career pathways that are traditionally more female dominated, but require a lot of physical strength, like nursing even. And there are more female paramedics than there are in policing or fire, for example. And the amount of weight that nurses, and not females, just nurses in general, lift day to day, I was absolutely blown away. And the reason why I'm trying to make this distinction is because, and I'm sure you've heard it before, and I'm not the only one, is getting asked the common question: if you're in a fight, if you're in a house and there's a fire, who do you want to save you? And I'm like, the best person for the job. And they're like, so you're telling me if it was a 6'3" male in comparison to a 5'6" female, you're gonna pick either one? And I'm like, yes, whoever is qualified to go get me is going to get me. But that shows the mindsets and the attitudes that there are when you think of fire. So firefighters. So yep. What feedback, or how do you respond to those comments?
Probably the best, and you're right. So I can only speak for my department specifically. So for Kitchener, yes, we absolutely want to hire more female firefighters and have a balanced team for sure. But ultimately, it's still based on who's best for the job. So everybody that gets hired has to go through the same physical fitness testing. They don't make it that, okay, well, a female 5'5" has to do this type of testing and a male 6'3" does this type of testing. It's all the same physical fitness testing. So if you've accomplished that, then you have obviously lifted someone out of a window, down a ladder. But once again, being a female, and I'm not that big, I mean, I'm 5'6". So for me, I have different techniques that help and work better for me that I've learned over the years that we can accomplish the same thing. We may just do it slightly different. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just being smart about your job and knowing that we are a little bit different, male and females, but we can accomplish the exact same thing. We just have to figure out what's best for us to accomplish that.
And I have to say, in all honesty, in speaking to you, I 110% want you to save me from a burning house.
Thank you. I hope
so. I hope so, but I would put my full trust in you. So, well, no, thank you. I mean, what a great opportunity for us to really paint a picture of the amazing pathway and career opportunities in fire, and to really talk about some of the limitations that sometimes discourage young women from going into this pathway. And my last question, because I know this often comes up, and even myself thinking the career choice I made, how do you balance work life and family life? So you have children, and what's your, like, not saying you have children. I don't even know if you have children.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I work with other nieces and nephews.
Okay, perfect. But how do working moms in fire make it work?
So a really good friend of mine that works with us at Kitchener, she's a mom of four, and she's amazing. She's truly is. Is in the best shape ever. And she has her kids join her with fitness stuff. It's really what you get used to when you have children in the fire service. It really is about having them used to their routine, that you're going to be on shift for a 24-hour period. You're going to be away from home. And it's what the kids are used to. It's routine, right? Children love routine and are used to routine. And when you build that routine, and she has a very good routine with them, that's what they know. That's all they know. Right. So I honestly don't know how she does it all. She volunteers with me at the hospital some days, and she volunteers for other programs. She also did the Build a Dream program with us at Binghamton's last year. So she gives 100% to everything she does. I think honestly, it's just about keeping active, and it's what you get used to, and it's how you adapt to that. You get used to working a 24-hour shift and your life around it. Sometimes you don't get holidays at home with your family. You make it a different day. Christmas may not be on Christmas Day. It might be on Boxing Day. It's really just about being flexible and having balance and having a good support system with your family and friends at home.
Phenomenal advice. Like adapting, creating a routine, being flexible. That is the reality, even just of the working world. Think of even now what we're all going through and having to really shift our norm and create new routines. I mean, such phenomenal advice. And I think it's very valuable for us to share these stories more, so that young women don't feel limited by their choices simply because of wanting to have a family one day, or feeling like if they go into a particular career pathway, they won't have time with their kids. It's just how you create that time with your children that really matters. I mean, I'm a new mom, and
Congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, he's two. Like I
That's
don't know why I
little.
keep saying
Still
you,
little.
but I know that I've learned so much along the way, and have had to balance and adjust and be flexible and figure it out as I go. And that's okay. And balls are going to drop, but if that's what you're really truly passionate about, then you're going to make it work, and your family's going to support you.
There's a lot of amazing women in the fire service that have kids and have families, and they do an incredible job of it. So, and I know a lot of them. I have a lot of friends that have young kids, and they make it work, and they make sports, and sometimes they will miss their kids' activities and sports, and there's nothing that they can do. They do everything they can to be there when they can. But usually the biggest is having that support of either a spouse or having family that can help out during that time as well. But never limit yourself based on thinking that you can't have a family because of the career choice, or you can't have a career choice because you have a family. It is all about perspective, and it's all about balance. You can do it. You just have to figure it out and figure out what's best for you and your family.
What a great way to end this session. What phenomenal advice. And we're going to provide a recap of all the amazing tips you've provided. I can't thank you enough for joining me on the show. It was truly an honor speaking to you. I'm really inspired, and I'm sure everyone tuning in. Donna DeSantis, who I've mentioned, she tuned in. She said, great interview. I love her input, amazing role model. Tammy Fryer, who's in policing, a good friend of mine, was also on the show. That's a great initiative. I mean, I know that we're going to just keep hearing that when people hear this session with you, and keep doing what you're doing. And if there's any opportunity for us to share your journey, we'd love to have you sit on one of our virtual panels in the future. We've had to go digital as well. Unfortunately, we've had to reschedule all of our spring events, and we're looking possibly that happening in the fall. But I would love to have you on one of our panels in the future and have more young women hear your story, because we're still very committed to that. And I love that you're so passionate about mentorship. We actually just launched an opportunity for 12 young women across the province to receive career coaching mentorship from myself and some really amazing female role models that I know that are going to walk young women through this career journey and connect them to resources, tools, and a great network. So I thank you for working full time, and what I'm hearing from you is volunteering full time to make the world a better place.
I enjoy it. I really do. I really enjoy the mentorship side of it. So if you ever need anything or need any help with that, when you hand out that program for the 12 young women, please feel free to have any of them contact me if you need any assistance that way. If they want a career in firefighting, by all means, please reach out.
I would love it. And we'll definitely be spotlighting you more now that we've heard your full story and have some great advice that we can give you. So is there a particular website that people could go to for the mentorship program that you talked about?
So ours is under the City of Kitchener Young
Okay.
Female Program.
City of Kitchener Young Female Program.
Yeah, and I'll send you that email with all the different
Perfect.
women, all that. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again, Stacey, for coming on with me. This was a great pleasure. Thank you all for tuning in. We're going to be back on Facebook Live, so make sure to tune in tomorrow for another great episode. And just one final reminder, we're 2/3 away from the cap for our virtual conference, Career Discovery Conference for young women across the province of Ontario. This is a perfect opportunity for grades 7 through 12 to learn about the different career pathways that you could pursue in the skilled trades, science, technology, engineering and math, emergency response, and entrepreneurship. We already have over 2,000 families registered to attend. We anticipate 3,000, so make sure to claim your spot. There's some special giveaways and some exciting speakers that you're going to be able to hear from. So it's dreamathome.eventbrite.ca, and stay tuned for some more exciting news from Build a Dream. Thank you so much, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye.